The trouble with opportunity is that it always comes disguised as hard work. So you need to choose hope and, of course, instead of the doubt, and keep going further ahead, keep working hard, and so that you can accomplish your dream one day. Yes. So that was a power packed quote that I read somewhere in the internet today, and felt like, having it put out here just at the start of our episode for that much needed energy and vigor. So I know that all of you here, the participants for our live episodes, you're all working hard towards becoming a creative writer, and you can keep on working on your dreams and aspirations. Do not lose hope, do not let doubt creep in. Yes, those are some of the tips that I would like to give you here just at the start of the episode. And let's move ahead with our episode for today. Today as well, we are going to see the fiction story writing masterclass, and our aim here is that young minds and young students get to learn how to become more and more creative with their writing style, and how they can be writing their own stories in the various genres that we bring to you in these live episodes every day, right? So here again, we need to unleash the writer in us, stir up our imagination, have our imagination run wild, and put out everything that you have in your head as a story into paper for the world to read. Yes. So that's what we are aiming for here. All of the creative budding writers here, do give me a shout out in the chat box there, a yay message or an emoji, and let's all get started with today's episode. So I have a hello message there from quite a big handle. Perspicacious evangelical flabbergasted skulldugger. Oh my god, that's a big handle there. And so, okay, great to know that you're an English teacher at PlanetSpark. Lovely. Thanks for joining today's live here. And yes, so let's look at what do we have in today's episode. I'm going to show you the coming up segment, and we are going to learn all the gamut of activities that we have curated specially for our wonderful viewers. Right? A lot of hello messages there. Hi, Prachi. Hello there, Dafia. Great to have all of you in today's live. Lovely. Momita, welcome to the live today. And yes, so let's look at the coming up segments. We have essentials and plot building pointers. I'm also going to give you a lot of tips on how you can be writing that engaging and absorbing story, which is, going to captivate your audiences, right? So that is the trick here. What all can you be including in your story to have a page turning compulsion for your audiences? Yes. So all the tips and the tricks, the essentials, the plot building pointers, and apart from that, a lot of vocabulary words as well. There is the recommendation of the day, and then of course, how can we forget our favorite icebreaker questions? So yes, there would be icebreaker questions that will keep popping up every now and then. And towards the end of the episode, we have fill in the words and a quick glimpse of all the learnings that we had in today's episode, right? So with that, let's get going with the first icebreaker question. Here it is. The question is, what do you like the most? Is it the horror genre or is it sci-fi? So that's the first question that we have for our icebreaker segment today. Do let me know whether you like nail-biting horror, or whether you're fascinated with all of those scientific concepts, the new inventions possibly, or the USP that sci-fi stories have. They are really something that we are fascinated towards. The concept, the storyline, the plot, everything is new and fresh, right? So what is your pick? Is it going to be horror or is it going to be sci-fi? That's the first icebreaker question here, and I can already see answers coming in. So let's get started. Sci-fi is one of the popular, and why not? That is what comes up here in the chat box as well. Yes, I think we all have the fascination for the unknown, right? So sci-fi will normally include possibly maybe zombies or alien invasion. There could be um, something about space and the universe as settings in our story, right? So a lot of possibilities there, and everything which revolves around scientific concepts. And I think that's why young minds are really captivated with sci-fi, isn't it? So yes, sci-fi is the popular one that I get here in the chat box. And great, so let's move ahead with our next segment. We have the golden question: what's the genre, right? So let me tell you, today's genre is going to be all about, are you getting the screens? Are you able to see the screens? Do let me know in the chat box there. So the genre is sci-fi today, and a popular genre. I can understand that clearly from all the comments. It's really evident. So yes, today it is the exploration of sci-fi genre, and under sci-fi we will have a different subgenre, a different subcategory for today. But let me tell you, sci-fi is all about fictional stories, stories that stem up from the author's imagination, and the author is trying to give you some bit of his creativity with the story, right? And there is a lot of speculation because all of this is not really possible in the real world scenario, and there is a lot of inference to science and its concepts, and that's why the name sci-fi, right? So it is fiction all across, and there are science concepts that we are dealing with here, so that's why the name sci-fi. And let's look at what is going to be the subgenre in sci-fi. So here we have the subgenre of the day, which is apocalyptic science fiction. Yes. So what this means is apocalyptic as well as post-apocalyptic fiction. These are all subgenres of sci-fi where they are set in a time period where the Earth, as we know it today, it is going to come to an end very soon, right? And there is a lot of talk about how we are going to survive, what's the survival mechanism going to be like, and all of these stories, the post-apocalyptic novels, almost always they have a talk about the future. The setting is a future scenario, although there could be some stories which describe the end of past ancient civilizations that no longer exist, right? So there could be a chance of the setting being about past civilizations which do not exist anymore now. But apocalyptic will only mean that the world as we know it today is going to come to an end very soon, and how the characters are trying to hither skither and do whatever possible in their capacity to try and save the world from destruction, right? So that's the subgenre for the day. And before we move any further, let me bring to you the next icebreaker question. The question is, what kind of music do you like? Yes, so in the chat box you can let me know what is the kind of music that you prefer. And I think I love instrumental music. So it's a nice time at home when I can have Alexa play up some kind of instrumental music, flutes, or maybe even tabla. These are all the kind of music that I really love. A peaceful time at home. Yes, instrumental it is for me. Do let me know in the chat box, what do you like? Okay, I get Bollywood music there. Great. Then hip hop. Okay, great. So all fancy kind of music coming up here. And what else? Do let me know in the chat box. I love soft music. Great. So something which is relaxing and calming, right? Yes. Okay. Great. Thanks a lot for all of those answers here. And thanks for that comment there, Richa. That's so lovely. Um, yes, so the different types of music that we like. Yes, thanks a lot for all of those comments. And let's move ahead to our next segment. We already discussed that today's genre is going to be apocalyptic sci-fi stories. And let's look at what could be the essential elements that we would be, wanting to spend time on before we start writing our story. Yes. So, three definite elements again that I'm going to give out to you for the essentials. And all these definite elements definite elements are going to play a crucial role while we write an apocalyptic sci-fi story. And let's look at what all of these three elements entail. There they are on the screen. I think my screen is taking a tad bit of a time to upload. Do let me know if everything's clear and visible for all of you, right? So these are the essentials. There are characters, and then we have the world building and the settings of our story. Yes. So let's delve into each one of these elements in greater detail and understand how we can be going about starting to write our story. Yes. This is the first essential here, all about the characters. So let me tell you that we have, as humans, we have a natural curiosity about how the world might come to an end, and about the nature of human existence, how all of this started. Possibly there are so many theories that we find about the starting of the world. Yes. Now all of these segments here, or all of these fascinating curious questions here, they lead or draw the readers to a dystopian and a post-apocalyptic fiction, right? Now your characters will also be tested in a more subtle and in a mental and maybe in an emotional form as well. They are going to battle things that are that's something that they have to overcome. Yes, so they might be battling fear, or there could be a moral dilemma as well, because as you know, these stories are about the world coming to an end. Yes, so there could be a lot of situations and scenarios where your lead character, or even the characters that you are incorporating into your story, they do come into a moral dilemma, right? They need to fight a battle of internal conflict. They might have to somehow overcome the fears that they have, right? And all of these are quintessential elements that you can be focusing on while you try writing or choosing a subject for your apocalyptic sci-fi. Yes. So the characters are one of the main crucial elements here. And now moving ahead to the next element that we have, this is the world building, right? So again, these are topics that we are writing only through our imagination. Yes. And that is why the most exciting part of writing an apocalyptic sci-fi novel is always the world building. Yes. So one thing to keep in mind when writing this sort of story is that the world that you're going to create, it should challenge your characters. And in apocalyptic fiction, the more the challenges that you throw to your characters, the better. Yes, your audience is going to be on the edge of their seats, wondering what's going to happen next, whether the lead protagonist is actually able to come up with a survival mechanism where they can possibly save the world, right? So too many questions and lot less answers. Yes. So perhaps more than any other genre, apocalyptic fiction, it provides a perfect platform for examining the human nature. And your characters will also be pushed to their limits. And the world that you're going to build for your story is going to do just that, right? And this you can be doing in a number of ways. So think about what is that one scenario that you want to play for your story, and how you want to create a challenging world, and create a lot of obstacles and hurdles for your characters in a way that they falter, but also try and come back up from whatever that hurdle is, and try saving the world and becoming victorious. Yes. So this is all about the world building. You need to form a certain set of rules for your new world. And there may be a dearth of people now, and there might be only a few survivors who are left on this planet. And that's how interesting you can make your story. Yes. So make it absorbing and engaging with a lot of obstacles and hurdles that you can pass on to your protagonist in the story. Give them well determined characteristics, so that they can clearly have that potential to try and come back victorious from this from all of these extreme situations, right? So that's about the world building. Think of how you can be intensifying the plot here. And then the third element that we have in our essentials, let the screen come up here. I'm waiting for it to load. Mm, Do give me a thumbs up in the chat box if you can already see the screen uploaded here. Okay, yes, Raj, thanks a lot for that. Okay, so the third element that we have here is the setting, right? Now, there is no denying the fact that apocalyptic sci-fi would be about the wilderness, the mountains, the desert, or the desert or the forest. Maybe there could be a compelling and a creepy situation that you're going to put your characters into. But as mentioned, one of the attracting things about this genre is watching the mundane, everyday kind of situation to turn into total chaos, right? Now it seems only natural that the reader being able to vividly picture a story's setting, either because it is a well-known setting or because they have actually seen it themselves, right? So it would help in bringing the setting to mind to life in their minds, yes. And that is what you want to be doing as a creative writer. So build up a setting, write about it in such a way that it comes to life in your readers' minds. Yes, and try having a vivid description. If it is a new world that you have formed, since it is going to come from your imagination, you want to pass on that imagination to your readers. And how you can be doing that is with the help of an immersive setting, right? So these were the essentials here, and you can try thinking about plots which are unique and fresh so that you give a new perspective to your readers. And with all of these essentials, let's move ahead to the first Google it word for today, which is dystopian, right? Now, the meaning for the word dystopian would be anything which relates to a distressing or a state full of suffering, right? And this is mostly an imagined state or a society which has a lot of distress. It is showcasing a lot of suffering and injustice towards its citizens and towards its people. Yes, so that's the meaning of dystopian. Do Google out the word there. And the antonym for dystopian would be utopian, which means everything is hunky dory in our world, right? And with that Google it word, I'm going to move ahead with the next icebreaker question. Here it is. And the question is cats or dogs? That's plain simple, isn't it? What will you prefer? Will it be cats or dogs as pets? Yes, and I would definitely go with dogs. They are my favorites. And do let me know what your answers are here. Dogs are the one that I get here in the chat box. Neha says cats. Okay. Then we have Aryan gave dogs as the answer there. Great. Um, Pets are lovely. Of course, yes, Richa. Thanks a lot for your comment. And both is also another answer that we get here. So, yes, pets are really lovely, isn't it? we I really enjoy their company. And great. So I have a mixed bag of responses here. Cats and dogs both coming up here in the chat box. Lovely. So let's move ahead with our next segment, which is expert tips on establishing the essentials, right? So the first expert tip that we have here when you're trying to write the prerequisites for your story is that you can be thinking about all kinds of challenges that you want your characters to face. And this would help you decide when your story should start, right? So whatever is the starting of the story, always keep in mind that you have to start with a bang. That means that your starting or the starting paragraph or the first chapter of your story needs to be really absorbing for your audiences. And why I'm saying that is because the starting few pages of a book determine whether you're going to hold back to that book or whether you're going to just leave it and maybe grab another copy, right? So it's always about the starting few pages, and you need to create an impression just at the start of the book, right? And this is one piece of advice that you would have heard maybe in a lot of writing classes and in a lot of tons of articles that you would have read about how you can be writing a creative piece. You would have always learned about this in the first pages of your book, right? So that's the first expert tip there. And Sushma Malik, thanks a lot for that love there. And also for that comment there. Great. Okay. I have another comment here from Ashleen Boyer, but that doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to move ahead into the next segment here, we have another Google It word, and the word here is incredible, right? So the meaning for the word incredible would be something which is almost unbelievable, and something which is impossible to believe, right? So that's the word incredible. The synonyms could also be extraordinary, magnificent, wonderful, or marvelous, right? So do write down all of these words there. These are really striking and impressive words that you can be using while you're writing a piece, maybe, or even while you're speaking to people. Yes. And that was the second word that we had in today's Google It segment here, incredible, which means unbelievable or impossible to believe, right? Now, moving ahead to the next segment here, we have another icebreaker question. And the question is, if you could be an animal, what would you be? Okay, so just before this, we had a fun icebreaker question, cats or dogs, and I preferred dogs over cats. So I think if I get to be an animal, I would definitely like to be a dog. They are really adorable. Yes. So that's my answer. Do let me know what animal you would like to be, and in the chat box, and maybe you can also tell me why, right? Okay, so quick comments here. I'm waiting for your answers. um, Thanks a lot for all the love and the like, and for all the support that I get here in the chat box. It's really overwhelming. And um, lovely, I get dogs here as an answer. I think, Swati, because they are adorable, isn't it? uh, Okay, and another animal. Any other animal that you think you would be if you could be an animal? Rabbit. Okay, rabbit is one answer that I get here from Jyoti. That's wonderful. A fluffy ball, fluffy white ball, isn't it? Cute. Okay, so let's move ahead into our next segment here. And we have the movie title trivia coming up next. Yes. So I'm going to show you some pictures, and you need to guess the movie from these pictures. And all of these movies are based on science fiction, right? And they're also popular apocalypse based sci fi, right? So let's look at the first picture here. Let me see if you can guess the name of the movie. And quick answers there in the chat box. A very good evening to all of you. I can see a lot of you joining the live just now. Um, we are in the movie title trivia for today. Okay, so let me reveal the name of the movie here, Chronicle 2067. 2067 is the name of the movie. And moving ahead to the next one, here you go. Does anyone here know the name of this movie, which is based on sci-fi and apocalypse? Any answers coming up there? I can see question marks. I don't know is another answer that I get there. That's quite okay. We are playing a game of movie title trivia, so you can make a guess here possibly. Yes, I'm going to reveal that one for you. That's Finch. And the last one for the day, here we go. And we see destruction there in that picture. Yes. um, okay, so let me give that name out to you as well. That is Geostorm, right? So thanks a lot for um, trying to attempt the answers here. Yes, so that was the movie title trivia for today. And now let's move ahead to our plot building pointers, right? So plot building pointers means how you're going to make your story move forward, right? We have already seen what the essentials are. So the essentials were pointers that you want to incorporate into your story. These are crucial elements that you would want to be talking about in your story. And now I'm going to discuss three important elements which are going to make for an engaging apocalyptic science fiction story, right? So how do you turn your story's plot into something which is exciting and thrilling for your audiences, right? So that's the plot building pointer. And the three elements that we have for today One of them is the conflict. Of course, we have a conflict running wild in this story because it is a crucial element that we are looking out for. The world is coming to an end, and we need to find a possible solution to that problem, right? And unravel the mystery there. And we definitely have seen in movies that, whenever there is this kind of a scenario which is set up, where the world is going to come to an end and you need to save the world, there is always a particular time limit, right? We do not have a lot of time. The clock is ticking, and the protagonist needs to be quick here, right? There's a lot of quick thinking involved. So that's one of the conflicts there. And then we have the apocalyptic scenario. So what is the scenario that you're going to choose for your story? Is it a zombie invasion? Is it an alien invasion? Is it some kind of a disease outbreak, a pandemic maybe? Or what is it that is causing the world to come to an end, right? So that's one of the scenarios that we would be looking out for. And finally, the resolution, right? So your readers are especially wanting to know in this kind of a story whether the world and its people survive or not, right? So the ending is again an imperative part to our story, and that thereby we have all of these three elements towards plotting the plot. Let's look at the first one, which is the conflict. So it should be fairly easy to factor into your apocalyptic fiction, right? And the core of the genre is characters fighting for survival against steep odds. Yes. So it's also important to think about the overall goal. What are we trying to accomplish here? And the world that you're going to create. Yes. It's going to cause certain complications in a natural kind of a way, which is going to unfold in front of your reader's eyes. And this particular conflict is going to complement the purpose or the message of your work. Yes. Now, before you add a new piece of conflict or a new piece of complication there, always consider and think through whether this is actually required in the story or not. So only if it is going to form a crucial part of moving that story forward, then you include that complication in the story, right? So that's about the conflict here, the first element in our plot builder. And then the apocalyptic scenario, right? So let me give you a plethora of scenarios here that you can cherry pick from. We have alien invasion, astronomical catastrophe, there could be a disease outbreak, maybe a pandemic, there could be an environmental catastrophe. So when we talk about environmental catastrophe, it could be anything relating to global warming maybe, or a forest fire, or any kind of event that's going to trigger the environment, right? So that's the environmental catastrophe. There could be machine or robotics and AI related scenarios that you can be playing up for your story. There could be a nuclear holocaust, nuclear war maybe. And all of these scenarios are possible scenarios that you can be using for your apocalyptic sci-fi story, right? So whatever is the one event that you want to choose as a creative writer, you can be going ahead with that. And there's plenty of room that writers have. You have a blank canvas in front of you, and you can fill whatever colors that come to your mind. Yes. And you just have to create something which is going to be a thrilling ride for your audiences, right? So try and create something which is fresh and original, an idea that has never been incorporated in a story before, right? And that's going to be your USP. Yes. So these are the apocalyptic scenarios that we can have into our story. And now for the third element, which is the resolution, right? So unlike the beginning, try not to end your story with a question or a cliffhanger. In the starting of our story, there are a lot of questions that we are posing through our writings there, for our readers to have a nail biting experience throughout the story, right? But towards the ending, we need to give them a resolution. We need to tie up all of those loose ends and make it clear as to how the protagonist have actually come up with a survival mechanism, how they have overcome all of the difficulties and the hurdles that were set to them or posed to them, and how finally we have a strong resolution for the story, right? And you can always try and give a satisfying ending to your story, right? Also, let me tell you that you do not want to end your story with a cliffhanger. Yes. So in the next segment here, we have the word cliffhanger in our Google It segment. And I'm going to tell you what a cliffhanger actually means. So it is a plot device where a component of a story, it ends unresolved, right? So literally, if you think about it, you're going to leave your audiences hanging from that cliff without a proper resolution, right? So usually in a suspenseful and in a shocking way, you just leave them hanging there without giving them a resolution, right? So that's what a cliffhanger is in all. And this is done in order to compel the audiences to turn the page, or if it is a series of books that you're writing, then to return to the story in the next installment, right? That's the purpose of a cliffhanger. But if you are writing one book, uh, the, I mean to say that there is no series in this particular book that you're writing, and you're going to complete it in one book, possibly, then you do not want to leave your audiences hanging from that cliff. So it should not be abrupt. The ending needs to have a clear resolution, and a satisfying ending is something that we are wanting for our audiences, right? So that's what a cliffhanger is, a plot device where the story ends unresolved in a shocking kind of a way. Yes. Now, I'm getting a lot of thumbs ups here in the chat box. Thanks a lot for that. And yes, it is actually one kind of a literary device that authors usually use to spark up that bit of curiosity in our audiences, right? So that's a cliffhanger for you. And now let's move ahead to our expert tip in plotting the plot. The first expert tip that we have here is you can always create a world that challenges your characters at every turn, right? And a world in which they need to adapt and adjust themselves to survive, right? So there is newer things that are coming to them on the face every now and then, and they need to adapt somehow to survive the whole situation. Yes, this is also going to make it the story more and more tempting for your audiences, because they also want to know how your lead protagonist is going to show that determination and come out with a resolution for our story's ending. Yes. So it's going to draw your readers deeper into that world that you have created. So that's one expert tip. You want to have a lot of challenges for your protagonist. And now the second expert tip that we have here is you can also think about favorite novels that you might have read in this particular genre, and think about all of those events that took place in those stories, particularly those that involve a climax. And you would always see that, even though the main character, they suffered in some way or the other, they have come back victorious, and it also gives them a new perspective. They have a whole transformation, all there evidently seen in front of the eyes of our audience, right? So that's what we want for our apocalyptic sci-fi story as well. We need to showcase the growth of character for our lead protagonist there all throughout the story. And you need to have your characters connect to your audiences, and that can only happen with your bit of creative writing style. Yes. So this is one expert tip again. With that, let me now move ahead to the next Google It word, which is complications, right? So complications would mean a difficulty. Yes, any kind of situation or a circumstance that's going to complicate something. It could also be called a difficulty, and that is the word there, complication. And we need a lot of complications going in our apocalyptic sci-fi story, right? So do Google up that word complication, jot it down in your Google It journal, and try using it wherever appropriate. Yes. So with that, I'm going to now move ahead to our next fun segment, and the segment is fill in the words. This is the first word that we have. All of the words are associated with today's episode, and you need to fill in the blanks and let me know what is that word that you can think of which is related to today's episode. We did apocalyptic sci-fi genre today, and what is the word that you can think of here? Quickly in the chat box, you can write the word for me. You need to make a meaningful word here, and that is correct, Prachi. Thanks a lot for that answer there. It is Let me showcase that one to you. Apocalypse. And right, that's great. Yes, it is correct. And now the second word, the last one in today's episode. What this could be one of the scenarios. What can you make out from these set of letters here? A word that you can make out, a meaningful word. Mm, and yes, that's correct. It is zombie. Great. Zombie. Yes, so that's zombie. And yes, these were the two words that we had in the fill in the blank segment for today. And now I have a recommendation of the day, which is a book named Station 11. And it is about a pandemic outbreak, a disease outbreak, and how. The characters tried to survive the whole situation. Written by Canadian writer Emily St. John Mandel. And let's move ahead with a quick glance as to all the learnings and insights we had in today's episode. First and foremost, we had the essentials. So we need to think about our characters, make a character sketch of the protagonist, the side characters that you will have in our story. And you can think about the world building. What is the world that you're going to create into your story? You can run your imagination while stir up and whisk up that bit of creativity that you have and try putting that to paper. And of course, write an immersive setting for your story. Yes, these were the essentials, some of the prerequisites. And now for the plot building pointers, we definitely have a conflict. The world is coming to an end and we need to have a resolution before the clock ticks. And there were a list of scenarios that I had pointed out in the apocalyptic scenarios segment. You can be cherry picking any one of those scenarios and going ahead with that for your story, right? So these were the plot building pointers. And now I would definitely encourage all of you to be writing a first draft of your apocalyptic sci-fi story. Keep it absorbing and thrilling for your audiences. And you may want to have a fun session at home where you can call up your friends and relatives and try reading out that story that you have written. Yes, it's going to be a fun session. I guarantee you that, right? So definitely do try this project work out. And with that, we come to the end of today's episode. For tomorrow, I will be back again with another episode on the story writing, fiction story writing masterclass. And the genre would be all about comedy, right? So, yes, with that, I am Sapna Mahadevan signing out for today. And I would like all of you to take good care of yourselves, be happy, and keep smiling. Bye bye.